Out of all the specific superhero teams in the modern age, it seems one has actually pushed past all of the others into mainstream prominence, not just in the movies but even in the comics. Of course, I speak about the Suicide Squad. But how exactly do I feel about the Suicide Squad? Well, if you've seen the thumbnail, I think you have an idea. So, this bad boy was sponsored by Rockin' Alice, fellow channel homie. Be like him. Consider asking for your own videos, sponsoring these kinds of videos, as well as becoming a Theromax Corps member. So let's get into why the Suicide Squad sucks, and they are the absolute worst thing for DC. So who exactly are the Suicide Squad? Well, the Suicide Squad is a bunch of random nobody, loser, D-list heroes or villains that manage to get captured by Amanda Waller and get thrown into this group of people where the ultimate government agent, Amanda Waller, puts a bomb in your head and says basically you're gonna do government black ops for us, or you'll die. And hey, like I get that. That's a pretty dope setup, like I ain't gonna lie. Amanda Waller as a character, especially when she first started out, was a little bit wild, but she wasn't too bad. The problem with the Suicide Squad in the modern day is the Suicide Squad was never meant to be important. The Suicide Squad was never meant to be at the forefront of DC or anything like that. They even tried back in the 80s, like really hard whenever it came to the Suicide Squad. Task Force X, as it's more popularly known further back in time. But like, the thing that gets me is suddenly we have like these goat screw characters, a bunch of literal nobodies, no names and shit like that, and we're trying to play them up to be some of the more important and some of the more powerful characters inside the verse. Like right now, Amanda Waller is, for those who don't know, Amanda Waller has been setting up this absolute power event with an evil Batman that she's got underneath her wing. And she's basically planned out a future where everyone just loses. Nobody survives. And that's just unbelievable because like Amanda Waller, although dangerous, she was only ever dangerous to like your C and D tier heroes, right? Amanda Waller always called on the heroes to solve a lot of her problems. So the Amanda Waller problem, whenever it comes to like this whole situation, we're trying to make Amanda Waller out to be Lex Luthor, okay? And Amanda Waller is not Lex Luthor. I'll admit, she has a better justification for what she does, but at the end of the day, she's like loser Lex Luthor who requires other people to brain up all the projects that they have. Look, she's an okay character, and you know what? I've thrown a lot of shade towards her, but she's not even the worst offender here by a long shot, okay? But let's discuss before we get any further into the mechanics of things. Now that you know like the basics of like the Suicide Squad, kind of who's leading it, we'll get into individual members and stuff like later on. But let's just take a moment to talk about, I think, the thing that really set off this entire thing, okay? Like the entire Suicide Squad popularity fest that has randomly shown up in the last decade or so for some reason, okay? So James Gunn came out with his specific Suicide Squad to mass appeal somehow. I watched those movies and I'll admit there's some humor in it and there's some characters that are good, but people freaked the fuck out about this movie. This movie, he did the same thing with the Suicide Squad that he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, okay? Because before the Guardians of the Galaxy came out, guess what? No one gave a fuck about the Guardians of the Galaxy besides the biggest, most mega weeb fucking losers in the multiverse, okay? And guess what? I'd read a few of those comics back in the day, so I'm not spared from that myself, but I'm a comic book head. That should be expected, okay? If you walk up to anybody who's a fan of either the Suicide Squad or the Guardians of the Galaxy, just a casual, they've never read a comic. They literally have never read a comic. They might have seen some comic story videos, but they've legitimately never read a comic. The fan base that is for like the Suicide Squad in the modern day aren't even actual fans of the Suicide Squad, which is what triggers the hell out of me. They're just fans of James Gunn. Like that's the thing that frustrates me is James Gunn is talented and he can appeal to an audience incredibly well. I just wish that they would give him a superhero project that was like an important group or one of relevance. After all, like, dude, it's the Suicide Squad. You have a man who's half shark back there. You have a girl who controls rats, a guy who's accurate, and a fucking cheerleader on the squad. I mean, to be fair to Harley Quinn, she's crazy as hell. but that's a whole different thing unto itself. I don't understand the why you would take such a talented person like James Gunn and then put him on the worst team imaginable to make them important. That is what does not make any sense to me. I can't explain that. Because if you really were trying to blow up DC, why would you start with the Suicide Squad? So either James Gunn picked that or they stood it up for him. That is a negative in any shape, way, or form. Why are we giving all this time, effort, value, money to these losers? These are not the guys you want being the top tier DC heroes that exist, okay? Or like the DC, prominent DC figures. The cool thing about like DC, or I guess the thing that separates them from like Marvel, for example, right? Is there these heroes who have these absolute morals and shit like that. Those are the dudes you want to be the forefront of your brand, right? I mean, that Superman is literally the icon of hope. That makes sense to me. So when DC's most prominent property in the modern day is the Suicide Squad, what exactly does that show that people value about like DC? As a comic books fan, I just look at that and I think, wow, dude, these people value the most dog shit characters in the verse. Like that just is so unfortunate, and it's true. Like the characters inside the Suicide Squad are literally just 80% dog shit. And that's not a good thing. There's some memes sprinkled in there for sure, but memes don't make a good movie, especially a good superhero movie. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's a fact. These figures, not only do they suck, they're dog shit. They don't give you any good morals or teachings. Like the morals you gain from the end of the day is it's kind of okay to be a fucko and things work out. That's kind of what they gave you in that movie. There were some morals later on in between like Flag and Deadshot, but like it just, if the whole movie focused around that, I think it'd be different, because then at least, like I said, at least there's a DC moral, you know, we got like a strong foundation there. But like none of that, all of that is problematic. So whether it's random losers on the team, whether it's people who are just like one or two characters carrying the show simply because they are genuinely talented actors, or the writing just for that character happened to be good, or whatever the case is. But there's one person who sticks out more than others, and I even called them out once earlier. It's fucking Harley Quinn. Okay, I feel like the Suicide Squad franchise is just riding on the coattails of an excuse to give us another Harley Quinn, either comic or movie, because of how popular Harley Quinn is. And the worst part is everybody who's a fan of Harley Quinn, it's the same thing about everyone who's a fan of the Suicide Squad. None of these fuckers have ever read a comic with Harley Quinn in it. Most of these motherfuckers have barely even seen the Batman animated series where she first appeared. And this version of Harley Quinn is just bad. Yo, Suicide Squad 2, the movie, bro, there was a whole maybe a 10-minute sequence with her where she just, it was a big meme. She just shot the guy she said she was gonna marry, and it's so fucking cringe. That's, in all honesty, that's really what it is. It's just like brutal cringe injected directly into your veins. Suicide Squad shit sucks. Harley Quinn has made it worse due to the oversaturation of Harley Quinn. You know, in the comics, Batman has his own solo series, and then he has Detective Comics, right? So he's got like 2 solo runs going. This is exactly what they want to do with Harley Quinn. I think Harley Quinn sells to an audience that is of casuals, because I don't think anybody actually understands Harley Quinn. People just think Harley Quinn is the version from the Suicide Squad movie, or like the Jared Leto movie nowadays, which is just as sad as it is scary. I wish we could go back in time and just remove her from these movies and see how good the movie still is, because she has overstayed her welcome far more than any other character on this team. But that's honestly, I could do a whole video onto that. I'm trying to keep this under 10 minutes. I could do a whole video on the Harley Quinn issue, so that's definitely potential. Yo, 100 likes or more, and maybe I'll give you the problem with Harley Quinn and why she's the worst. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, I've yelled and complained and bitched a lot about the Suicide Squad, and this is something that, whether it's the comics or the movies, it doesn't really matter. I feel like this is a problem that kind of rotates throughout everything whenever it comes to DC in the modern day. Warner Brothers, the source of all problems. And when I say the source, yeah, that's like the capital source, okay, straight from DC Comics. Warner Brothers, or the company that owns DC in the modern day, they just do whatever the hell they want, and they just think edgy shit sells. Look at the last few DC movies. It's all about edge, outside of Shazam. I think that the Warner Brothers is so desperate to try to do the edgy comedy or the cringy edgy comedy that like Marvel is doing, that they just keep replicating things like Suicide Squad. And the worst part is that confuses the fan base of casuals who think that these are genuinely like the go-to characters in DC. Yo, the Suicide Squad sucks. They have virtually no redeeming value, and Warner Brothers keeps running them into the ground for some reason. Maybe it's making them money. And you know what? If it's making them money, so be it. But that doesn't mean that people who used to be big fans of like DC as like a concept, they look at what you're doing for it, and you may be even making more money, but you're making more money at the cost and the value of the actually good characters in the series. I know people give a lot of hate to Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the Trinity. Look, they got some good stories, even if they are a little bit ridiculous. But even past that, whether it's the Flash, whether it's Green Lantern, dude, there's some awesome stories that you can tell inside DC. So why would you focus on the loser crew of people when you can't even do the actually good characters from the verse right? I feel like the focus on Suicide Squad could be summed up as follows. Imagine in Naruto, due to the success of like Naruto in the manga, they made a movie about Naruto and it focused on Choji and Ino. Like, you could do that, but why would you do that? You gotta stop, DC. The Suicide Squad sucks. Let them die. After absolute power, please, for the sake of God, let them be buried in a hole. Let them be buried in a hole, or maybe even the absolute power universe that breaks off of this, and let them never be seen again. Let them fade into the background of being a Black Ops group like they were originally supposed to be, only showing up whenever the Justice League fails or when Amanda Waller thinks she can't trust the League to get something done. Let's just go back to the good old days of when the Suicide Squad wasn't important and wasn't fighting characters like Starro the Conqueror, that fights the entire Justice League, or having them kill the entire Justice League, because that's like laughably hilarious. But who knows? That's just my opinion. If you guys liked this rant type of video, I plan on doing more of these, as you could tell. Don't forget that 100 likes, and I'll give you guys the issue with Harley Quinn and why she sucks unbelievably in the modern day. And be sure to like and subscribe. Become a member, because I've got plenty of guys to support me down low, and it really helps me whenever it comes to creating content. This specific content was requested by one of those members, Rockin' Alice. So be a homie like him and sponsor the content, and let me know why you guys think that like the Suicide Squad just sucks down low. I'm really interested in your opinion, or whether you think that they're good, because that's apparently like a hyper modern opinion. But with no further ado, we'll catch you next time, Lanterns. Later.
Aftermath, you'll join my list of dead after I tear you in half. And I laughed at the thought of them controlling me. I'm the ultimate dragon that spawned everything. I resist and defy.